JMM. What's that?
Oh, that's my motto.
Yeah?
Justice matters most.
You want to be a friend of the cartel? Time to get yourself a new motto. Just make money.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down discussing Season 5, Episode 7 of Better Call Saul, JMM. Warning of spoilers, and let's jump into it. So this show just knows how to do a cliffhanger correctly. If the show wants to do a cliffhanger at the end of an episode, leave us in shock and awe, then sure, by all means, I love those moments. But then they come back to it at the beginning of the next episode and actually answer it or further elaborate. That's exactly what they did here at the end of the last episode. We got left on a cliffhanger. Are Kim and Jimmy going to break up, or are they going to get married? And at the beginning of this episode, they literally show them getting married. They've done a lot of different cliffhangers like this, such as Mike ending up in Mexico, and then the answer to that right after in the next episode, and also just like for the Season 4 finale, when Jimmy walks away saying Saul Goodman to Kim, and then the beginning of Season 5 is literally the continuation of that scene. So I can't believe that they actually got married. People guessed it correctly in that they did it so that they can't testify against each other, I guess, but they are going a little teary-eyed there during the whole process, and I bet they were really questioning if they could ever live a happily married life. But speaking of being married, it's confirmed now that Jimmy was married 2 times before Kim, at least that they've worked it into Better Call Saul.
Sir, do you have documentation of your 2 previous dissolutions?
Yeah.
Great. One sec.
It's something that's canon from Breaking Bad that they decided to have to work around, and this was a nice way to briefly fit it in. This makes me think of Chet, the guy that he did the Chicago sunroof situation on. It also makes me wonder about the situation where he said he caught his second wife with his stepdad. I'm not sure if Chet's his stepdad or if those are 2 separate situations, or maybe he was just joking about the stepdad thing, but let me know what you guys think about Saul's 2 ex-wives. And also tell me what you think about Saul's marriage with Kim, how long you think that's gonna last. I'll discuss it more in a video that I'm planning on to do after Season 5 about where Kim is during Breaking Bad. And then with no room for downtime, we instantly jump from that to more Saul and Lalo. And you guys were right, it totally was a Lalo in the orange jumpsuit getting walked out into court. The Saul and Lalo interactions are always my favorite. I think that's actually why I love episode 503 so much, and I just can't shut up about Saul meeting Lalo. So literally any scene with both of these guys involved gets a point in my opinion. We see that at least for now Mike is made up with his family, and that's nice to see, and it didn't overstay its welcome. And then as far as everything that went on involving Kim and Paige and Kevin and Rich, I honestly feel like Kim was going to get fired from Mesa Verde. I didn't think that she was going to keep her job. I was really on the fence about it. Now sometimes in a TV show, when there's a situation where someone might die or something bad might happen, you really feel like it's probably not going to happen, or you really have nothing to be worried about because they have plot armor. It's like they're telling you the stakes, but you're like, no, we're fine. But not with this show, especially with the Better Call Saul original characters. I'm worried about Kim and Nacho and Howard. Obviously we saw what happened to Chuck and that wasn't good, and Breaking Bad doesn't even have a good track record for the fates of their main characters either. Now when Kim walks back inside to speak with Kevin again, I just sort of thought like, oh god, what's gonna happen? Is she gonna freak out again like how she freaked out at Rich? But no, she just goes in, and while she does make a very bold statement standing up to Kevin in a way that he didn't expect, and he ends up keeping her on the job. Could have been a huge mistake, but it ended up working out, and even Rich was just about as surprised as I was. Back at home, Jimmy and Kim prepare to have their honeymoon, so to speak, but right in the middle of foreplay, Jimmy just bursts out to Kim that he's working for Lalo and the cartel. Of course he chooses right then and there to say that, right? Now, I like how Jimmy is deciding to tell Kim the truth. Maybe he needs to work on his timing a bit better, but at least this is a start. And I love how when Lalo gets the phone smuggled to him in jail, his cellmate looks down and he sort of just kind of waves them away. That made me laugh. Little moments like that are why I love Lalo's character. This leads to another meeting between Nacho and Mike, and I love that too when they meet up, especially when they get to, drop the act and just sort of talk. Now, with that being said, Nacho still has to respect Mike in the way that he respects Gus. Just because he knows him doesn't mean that he can start calling the shots. Mike is still Nacho's boss in the same way that Gus was, and so Nacho should still technically be intimidated towards Mike just like he is Gus. I mean, he knows that Mike isn't gonna go kill his father, but Mike does have the power to tell Gus that Nacho is acting up, so Nacho still has to respect Mike, and Mike does let Nacho say his piece, but then it gets held off again due to finding out that Lalo still isn't out of the picture yet. Lalo told Nacho to burn down one of Gus's Los Pollos Hermanos buildings, and that's exactly what we see in this episode, except we see Gus helping him out, which I feel like is half just because he's a clean freak, he's super OCD, he loves to just be a control freak about everything that's his even when it's getting blown up and destroyed, but he's also just doing it in general for the same reasons as why he let the dead drops go and why he let his dealers get arrested. Gus is just going along with it so that Lalo doesn't know that he actually knows more than he's supposed to, and also apparently having Nacho as a double agent is worth this much. Now don't get me wrong, Gus is pissed off about all of this. Even though he let the dead drops go, we saw he was pissed about it, and even though he let his Los Pollos Hermanos get blown up, he's obviously not happy with that either. He thought that putting Lalo in jail would have solved all of his problems, but obviously he had to let his Los Pollos Hermanos get blown up, so he still has a lot of problems with Lalo. I guess for some reason he didn't realize that Lalo could still call the shots from in jail. I don't know why he didn't think about that, but I guess maybe that's because in Better Call Saul this is supposed to be a younger Gus who is a bit more tempered and he makes mistakes still. So last episode we saw Gus getting Mike to send Lalo to jail, but now that that's not worked, I guess Gus is trying to get Lalo out of jail so that he can arrange his death elsewhere. He's probably gonna have to make it look like a death or an accident, or at least some other gang being involved or something that'll make it not look like his own fault. Oh, and I didn't mean to gloss over the scene where Gus meets with Lydia and the associate, who's actually the guy from Madrigal who ends up killing himself in the bathroom by electrocuting himself in Breaking Bad. Holy run-on sentence, Batman. Now, I watched the episode recently where that actually happens, where this guy kills himself in the bathroom, and so when I saw, episode 507, I'm like, oh hey, is it that guy? Who do we know from Madrigal? Like, it's totally that guy, right? And sure enough, they have a full Easter egg video on the AMC channel talking about it more in depth. There's honestly so many Breaking Bad Easter eggs in Better Call Saul, especially in season 5. I feel like I should do a season 5 Breaking Bad Easter egg video once the season is wrapped up, but what do you guys think? Anyways, next I wanted to discuss the scene of Jimmy and Mike, which I just loved. I seem to love any scene that has to do with the characters Lalo, Mike, Nacho, or Jimmy interacting with each other. Put at least 2 of those characters in a room to talk with dialogue and I'm set. Now, I love how Jimmy tries to shut down Mike by making fun of him with the whole tunnel thing from the last time he tried calling him, and then as he goes to hang up on him to go answer the door, it's actually literally Mike at the door, and then he just lets himself in. Very funny situation. And then I also love the conversation afterwards where they discuss Lalo and Mike kind of minimally explains vaguely as to how he's actually connected to all of this. Because of the way that all of these characters have been so just interconnected, almost like right along beside each other without overlapping the whole time, they've been there like the whole time down that road, but they're finally overlapping, and so they have to sort of react to each other's situation, like, oh, you're the one defending Lalo, like, well, what do you have to do with Lalo? A similar example would be Nacho talking to Mike about Gus in the last episode. All these characters are crashing together, and we're getting quick, reasonable dialogue with one character explaining to another how or why they're involved. I know that they're not really supposed to say things that the viewers know already on screen again, but I'm glad that they're giving realistic dialogue responses, because the things that Jimmy asked Mike are the things that a person would have actually wanted to ask. So because of that, the dialogue feels satisfying. Now, the way that Jimmy gets Lalo off on bail is just heartbreaking, because he feels bad doing it, and honestly, I feel like this warrants its own video, so I'm gonna keep the conversation brief here. I loved every moment, and to a certain extent, it did hurt my heart. And then also just to see how distant Lalo is from the whole situation, he just literally does not care at all. Jimmy's just so choked up over the family of the victim and the fact that he has to try and just get the murderer off scot-free, who doesn't even remember the name of the guy that he killed, instead of bringing him to justice, and that's incredibly ironic considering the name of this episode is JMM, Justice Matters Most. And granted, he did just come up with that slogan on a whim when Kim gave him the bag because he didn't want it to be his initials, but it did work out as good cover, I think, when Lalo asked about it, because he just says, oh, justice matters most, and then Lalo just kind of scoffs it off laughing. Now, I can't tell if Lalo actually believed her, if he was just too busy rolling his eyes and laughing about it, but Lalo almost found out what Jimmy's real name was right off of the bat if he didn't know already. I feel like Gus is the type of person person that would know his real name, but maybe Saul could get away with saying his name is Saul Goodman to Lalo and they just believe it. I don't know if the Salamancas are the type of people to do a background check like Gus would. So I mean, that could just be a silly question, but let me know what you guys think. Do you think the Salamancas know that Saul Goodman's real name is Jimmy McGill, or do you think they actually just know him as Saul? And although Gus hasn't talked about Jimmy or Saul directly, he did send Mike to him to get Lalo out of jail, so I feel like Gus does know Jimmy's real name. I mean, he sent Mike to his house, right? So they know where he lives. They probably know what his name is. Anyways, I'm rambling here. Now, the final scene of the episode, Howard walking up to Jimmy outside of the courtroom afterwards. Jimmy is in no mood to talk to Howard right now, especially after just staring at the victim's family, and so he freaks out on Howard. There's many different reasons why Jimmy is acting this way towards Howard, and I do have a video about it in the works, but I might just hold off on that video until season 5 is over, just because it's such a huge video and I don't want to upload it and then have something happen in the last episode that just changes everything. So look out for a huge Howard discussion video once season 5 has finished airing. But let me know what you guys thought of season 5 episode 7 down below, and I'll see you guys next time for the rest of my review recaps. I know that this episode I did it out of order. That's just because I wanted to do the episode right away while the reaction was still fresh in my mind, as it should be. I'll cover the other episodes throughout the rest of the week and we'll be all caught up by 508, so I'll see you guys then. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything that I've said today, and if you're new here, just haven't yet already, subscribe and hit that bell notification for updates on when I post content on Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. As always, I thank you guys all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
You can't conceive of what I'm capable of. I'm so far beyond you. I'm like a god in human clothing. Lightning bolts shoot from my fingertips.